to discuss a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, and perhaps the diuk in this Mishnah is startling. The Mishnah tells us what is the difference between Talmidav Shel Bilam HaRasha and the Talmidim of, and Mishnah gives us a list of things, a negative about Bilam and a list of positive things about Avrohom. I'm not so concerned right now at this point in this year in discussing. That was a Perek Hey, Pirkei Avos. I can't remember what Mishnah it is. And the question is, what does it mean, Talmidav Shel Bilam HaRasha? And what does it mean, Talmidim of Avrohom Avinu? So there are people who have that kind of a persuasion. Would we call them Talmidim? Well, these are the midos of Bilam and the midos of Avrohom. We understand when it comes to Avrohom Avinu that Avrohom Avinu had a approach to give people an appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't find, at least on a simple level, that he gave Musar Shmuzim, that he was giving Sichot Musar on how a person is supposed to live his life. And was Bilam HaRasha giving Sichot Musar on how to live your life, so you could say, I am a disciple of Bilam HaRasha because I like to have the good life? Is that me Talmidov? Talmidov means he's a student of. Shimon, you with the question?
Yes.
This is a question you should have asked, right? Right? This is your kind of question. What does it mean that he's a Talmidim? And the answer to the question is, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know what, the answer is yes. There was a philosophy. Now, I would like to pick on something when I say political, not political in particular to today, something political in life. There are people who are called liberals. Recently came to the conclusion that title is a stira. The word liberal is a stira, because in the world of liberals, there is no boundaries. So how could you be liberal? Liberal really means that you go beyond the boundaries. So if they say that those boundaries don't exist, then they're not really liberals. The teretz is that they don't mean that there are really boundaries and they're outside of the boundaries. It means the perception that people have that there are boundaries, they're beyond those boundaries. But in reality, there are no boundaries. Is that true? Is that what they believe? So I'm going to use this as an example. I'm not right now discussing any particular topic that exists, but I will use an example of something that happened here in Eretz Yisrael. I remember it was a year ago, 2 years ago. Liberals have all kinds of concerts and events of, we'll call them to'evos. We'll just leave it at a general term. And that's fine because that's self-expression. That wasn't my opinion. I'm explaining what they say. However, the Charedim are not allowed to have segregated events because that's not just. Now, if somebody's making something private in the area which the liberals called everybody's domain, why should they have a right to impinge on our rights to be individuals and, excuse the term, and us be liberals? We're being liberal because we have our way of doing things. Right? Maybe it's out of their box. So the answer to the question is that they're hypocrites. The question is a toast. The question is not. It's not a question, and there's not an answer. It's all a lie. All of this is an excuse for people to do what they want, and they try to gain clout by making what's called in yeshivish a shita out of it. We make some kind of a policy, some kind of a doctrine, and we follow that doctrine, and now we're peles, we're mamish, we're...
To expose a philosophy that you can't do whatever you want is to negate what the messaging that they want to get through, so they have to fight against it.
No, but 1 second, but then we have a right to fight against our thing. No, it's their thing is you're allowed to do whatever you want. So why are we not allowed to do whatever we want? There's nobody that goes cursing people to go to a separate seating concert.
You're very open-minded as long as you agree with that.
No, 1 second. That's exactly the point. Is that called that they're liberal?
You said it's a facade.
That's exactly what I'm saying. There is no such shita as being liberal. It's my way or the highway. On the contrary, the liberals are by far less tolerant than the conservative. This is not in Israel. This is international. I mean, it's in Israel too, but I'm not picking on Israeli society in this thing. But they made it into a shita. You know where else they made a shita, which is the Beis? In Sedom. Imagine being the rabbi in Sedom, and someone says, "Rabbi, someone came for tzedakah. Am I allowed to give him? It's against the law." What would I say?
If you were the rabbi?
If I was a rabbi in Sedom, okay? It's a fair country. Everybody has to, right? So even in Russia, in the time of the USSR, there were rabbis, right? They were right? They were rabbis, right? So they would come to me and say, "So, Rabbi, should I give tzedakah or not?" Koach nefesh, right? So I would like to share with you just a piece of history which you may all be aware of. I don't know how aware you are of what you're aware of. The chiddush of the Nuremberg Trials was that there's certain things that are beyond being protected by the law. I mean, what's wrong with you're in the Third Reich and you're given an order to kill, cremate, maim 3 million people? I'm just following orders. Right? What's the taina? What's the taina on them?
You should know better than that.
What do you mean? There's a law.
But there's the yashus that goes beyond the law.
What?
The lawyer for them said, says, show me what law they violated.
Right.
Open up the books and show me what law they violated.
Okay, fine. There's
beyond that.
I'm not sure if it's bad. I just would like to change the word, not beyond, before. Right? No. It's the right. It's before that. In other words, law is given in a certain context, and if you follow the law not within the context, you're not following the law. It's like derech eretz kodma l'Torah. Does that mean that derech eretz is not part of Torah? No, but it's a prerequisite also. There are things which are prerequisites, and the chiddush of the Nuremberg Trials were that you have no excuse. I shouldn't have known. Okay, so when you have a place like Sedom, there's no excuse that I shouldn't have known. And this is really the Ramban discusses this question. He addresses the defense lawyer for the Nuremberg Trials. He asks a compelling question, which there is no answer to except for the answer. He says the Goyim only have Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach. Not to give tzedakah is not one of those mitzvahs. Which is exactly this title, right? And he says, would be. It doesn't help. because there are certain things which are the basis of society, and they don't even have to be in the law books. They have to be before the law books. And I'm saying it very serious, very strong. Not beyond the law books, before the law books. This is the underpinnings.
I'm not sure if Rabbi's heard of them, but there's actually a group in England, and they call themselves Liberal Judaism, which is a bit of an oxymoron. I don't know exactly what the difference between them is and Reform is, but it's kind of in that given. I mean, how can you have, if you want to be liberal with the application of the traffic laws or any other laws? I've just never understood what they're trying to say.
So I will tell you what they're trying to say. I'm going to move this to America, and then we'll move it to Eretz Yisrael, and then we'll get back to England. I grew up amongst irreligious Jews, conservative Jews, that consider themselves devoutly religious. Bemet. Because I'm sure you've met many such people. They consider themselves strong, religious Jews. They're just conservative. Okay? And they believe, and the populace of this group actually believe the same thing as the Orthodox people. They just say HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't really mean nowadays that we should do it exactly like this. But they are not, I didn't say what I just said, it's mutter to say. But they're not in any ways saying what modern Orthodoxy says today, that Avrohom Avinu was wrong. No, they're not apikoresim at that level. These people call themselves modern, open Orthodoxy, right? Right? It's different. They are not koifrim be'etzem. Reform Judaism is a different story. Reform is that we actually say that we are taking the Torah and we are changing it. The liberals, I'll just say my grandfather, Shalom, who died before my bar mitzvah, which is quite a few years ago, he said that the Orthodox rabbi says, Baruch atah ado, and the conservative says, Baruch atah I don't know, and the Reform says, Baruch atah I deny. Okay, there's different forms of God. That was one of his jokes. But Echshahu, it's not whether it is funny or it's not funny, but that this is what's going on. The liberals say we're taking the idea and we're creating our own religion based on Judaism, which is basically Christianity. Basically, all right, without getting too involved in the technical aspects. Now, people have needs, desires, and they make a shita out of it, and they make a school to promote it, and they dress it up as a philosophy. The people of Sedom were tzaddikim. They had laws, they had order, and they're like communists. We're going to make it for the people, by the people, and protect our people. It's not a new concept. It's not a new concept. And it looks on the outside like a fine thing. Avrohom Avinu also had a school. And he also taught midos, and you should be maketov, etc. So how does one know how to decide which school to go to? I'm asking an intellectual question. Okay? This is a question which I think that every person who's an intelligent searcher for truth would really want to know. What is the answer to this question? So there are a few ways to answer this question. And I think the simplest one is that a person's own conscience would tell them really the answer, but we don't want to get involved in that. I'm going to share with you a joke. This joke is very meaningful, though it's not true, but the joke is very meaningful. There was this Jew who was like a creep or something like that. I don't know exactly what his problem was. And somebody else was afflicting this Jew. And the rabbi called him over and said, you can't do that. That's ashchas of midas. And even though the person is not there, says, Rabbi, it's a mitzvah to bury this Jew. Okay? We've all heard this in different variations. It's not something new. So the rabbi said, why is it a mitzvah? He said, he's a rasha, he deserves to die, and it's a mitzvah to bury him. So the rabbi said, I'll prove to you that you're wrong. This is an amazing joke. I'm going to prove to you wrong. He said, 1/5 of Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim by Yetzias Mitzrayim. What happened to the other 4/5? They all died in Choshech. How were they buried? The other 1/5 buried them. Right? So far, so good. Now here comes the kasha. Chazal tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to give Klal Yisrael the mitzvah of Mila and Pesach because Ata Erim V'Erya. You were naked, you didn't have any mitzvahs. So the kasha is, why didn't they have any mitzvahs? Each person buried 5 Jews. How could you say that they're mitzvahless? Lev, this is a mathematical question, right? So he says the teretz is it's not a mitzvah to bury even a rasha. Okay? Don't tell me it's a mitzvah to bury him, because we already know from Yetzias Mitzrayim it's no mitzvah to bury him. Okay? This is a joke. It's I'm not saying it as shot, but there's a point that has to be learned. Now, Avrohom Avinu, and I mentioned this at a different time, Avrohom Avinu was one that he had the opportunity to save light, and he saved Sedom also. The stupidest thing for Avrohom Avinu to do is to save Sedom. Sedom are his philosophical arch enemy. They stand for the exact opposite of Avrohom Avinu. So now he doesn't even have to go and kill them. He could let it happen by itself. Fait d'accompli. And he doesn't. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Shimon, why would he do that? Mordechai, why would he do that?
Yeah, there's an advantage to it.
Because competition is always good for business.
It's such a love for people who want to.
So that means that I'm going to use a word that's altruistic. That means that it's clear that he's not in it for himself.
Is it also a way of looking at that it's not the person that's bad, it's what he does is bad, and therefore...
But Lamaisa, he's ruining my business. But whatever it is, I have nothing against termites. Be'emes. It doesn't mean I don't want to kill them, right? I don't want them destroying my home. Avrohom Avinu has a business, and Sedom is destroying his business. Look at the prosperity of those who do not give tzedakah. Sedom was a showcase. And Avram should be being mispalel for them to be destroyed. He should be not saving them, and yet he's saving them. Why? Because obviously it's something greater than him. Now, I would like to ask you a question. If let's say a guy likes, a nice taiva. A guy likes to eat steak. And I came to you and I said, oh, you like to eat steak? You say, I like to eat steak. Would you like some? So you say, Rabbi Zachariash, how much are you going to pay me to eat it? For some reason, I don't think that conversation would happen, right? What? But the answer is, because something that you really want, right? So why is Balak offering money to Bilam? If Bilam really hates Klal Yisrael,
Same question for Howard, right?
no, well, Haman was willing to pay.
Right.
The opposite. Haman was willing to pay.
Ahasuerus man didn't want his money, he wanted the exclusive.
Forget, he's willing to pay. He put his money where his mouth is. He's a good capitalist. We like him, right? He's doing good. So the answer to the question is that even though Bilam had a desire to destroy Klal Yisrael, but he also had a scared about Kadosh Baruch Hu. And how do I know? Because when he said, I'm going to pay you to do it, he says, it's not enough for me to be over a Pi Hashem. He didn't say that you're not talking my language. But even though I would like to eat steak, but I'm allergic to meat, right? I can't eat it. But you're allergic to meat, but if I'll give you $10 million, so you'll sit in the hospital for 2 weeks. It's fine. Shabbat. Right? He says, but it's not enough to get a Kadosh Baruch Hu enraged at me. All of the conversations around Bilam were self-centered. Everything that the Parsha discusses is self-centered. His taivas, his kinna, his desire to have more money, it's all about him. And this is not just bad midas. This is something that there was a shita created to propagate this. This is Talmidim Shel Bilam HaRasha. It's not just, and this is very important. In other words, there are people, and I'm going to use right now speak about something very lamaisa. Do you think in the country that we are living in right now that there is a great debate about Yeshiva Bochum entering the army, that this is a total security pekuach nefesh issue? What?
No debate. People believe this.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm saying, but this chasm that has been formed, is it a total security issue, or is the issue based on pre-existing philosophies? And we shroud it in something else.
Right, it's being used as a method of divisiveness and to rally the other.
So the issue,
They really care less about.
I don't know if they could care less or not care less, but the issue is not the issue. The issue is a different issue. So you can't solve the issue by solving the issue, because that's not the issue. Right? This is the catch-22 that we're involved in. But I'm using this as an example to understand that there are shitas that are out there that look like they are sound. Do I know what's the litmus test? The daiti is when you don't have those exact situations around. How do people do? In other words, do religious people feel for irreligious people? I think that the answer is by and large yes, 100%. There's no animosity. The other way, unfortunately, it's not that way. Right? It takes two to have a war. I'm not over here trying to be a warmonger, and I'm not right now discussing any issues. But in our own lives, many times we have people who are champions of justice. Let's just ask the following question, and I would like to use this as an example. Someone came to me with a halachic shayla. It's in Yerushalayim. This shayla cannot exist in Beit Shemesh, where we live. He lives in an apartment building that has a miklat. I don't think there are any such things as miklats in the new Beit Shemesh. I don't think so. But we're already all mamads, right? We don't.
Starting around
I get a communal one.
They have one massive basement or whatever it is.
Only in the old HM.
I said it, but I said
This
it.
was all built after that.
Fine. So they had a miklat, and when the war started, so whichever government people came, they checked it out and they saw the miklat was full of sukkahs and agalot and v'chulu, and they put up a poster that everything has to be out of there by a certain amount of time, and if it's not out of there, then they're going to be fined or whatever. I don't remember exactly the pratim of it. So all the people in the building took it out, and they put their sukkahs and stuff in the Cheder Madrigot, which happens to be, I know the building, the Cheder Madrigot is bigger than this room. It's a big Cheder Madrigot, and they put it in somewhere around a 15th of it, there's stuff there. Okay? And everything's fine and dandy. Some internal thing happened in the building between some people. We'll just leave it at that. And somebody went to the area, and there was a sign put up that everybody has to get their stuff out of here. It's against the law. This is not public, but it's
It's a fire hazard.
So the person asked me, Al pi halacha, am I allowed to keep my stuff there? What's the halacha? Okay? Now, we're not here to discuss halacha. That's not the point of this shir. What's going on? How can I stick them? That's how they say it where I come from. I don't know how you say that in proper English. How do you say that? If you want to get the person, and how can I make the person have to struggle? Okay. This is not b'nei bono shel Avrohom Avinu. This is not midoisa shel Avrohom Avinu. The guy who comes and he says, but what can we do? How can we work something else? Let's build some kind of a communal shed. That is Talmido Shel Avrohom Avinu. And what happens is we many times can say, what do you mean? It's also pi halacha, and I'm doing him a favor. I hear this all the time. That's why I try to avoid being involved in Choshen Mishpah questions, because I'm not interested in hearing this all the time for a variety of reasons. But this is the Nakuda of Talmidav Shel Avrohom Avinu. A person says, what can I do to help the other person? He's not the Leiv Choymed. He's not the Baltaiva. What can I do to make somebody else's life better? And there is always going to be a philosophy. And I will say this, look at Bilam. He was a successful man. His klolos worked. He lived in Medrashim. He was a multimillionaire. And God spoke to him. Much better than following Moshe Rabbeinu. That's a very restrictive life. So if you have a choice which group to follow, and both philosophies seem appealing, how do you make the choice? So I will say as follows. All that Chazal tell us is he had these midos and he had that midos, but both were great schools of learning. So how do you make the choice? In other words, Chazal do not debunk directly Bilam. So maybe it's a viable option. So I'm telling you the answer to that question, I think, is the Nuremberg Trials. You know the answer to the question. You know the answer. And therefore we will be responsible. In other words, a person who joins such a group, he understands that he is willingly selling himself down the river. And he's just protecting himself by saying that there's a philosophy like that. And when I was in high school and the Cold War was still on, so my teacher said, so you want to know who's right, America or Russia? So he said, I have a simple test. Which is really better, communism or capitalism? Very simple test. There's a wall, the Berlin Wall, to separate the two. If we lift the wall, which way will people travel? So you want to know which way is the better way. There's a very simple test. We don't have, if we have some kind of immigration laws, it's not to get more people, right? It's to keep people out, right? They, on the contrary, were looking to have more people. I'm not right now discussing capitalism versus socialism or communism. I'm not discussing that right now. But we know if you take away the glitz, we know the truth. And it's unfortunate that usually the thing which is the truth is something which is painful. And I'll just use this as an example. I personally, when I was a little kid, I went to a woodworking group and I had to learn how to to make things out of wood. You had to learn how to sand it down, you had to cut it straight. This is like an art that has to be taught. Maybe some people are better at it naturally than others, but you can acquire it. And I was recently in a carpenter's shop and I was insulted. I said, with what are you a carpenter? All you do is feed machines and press buttons. You could be a pilot and do this. There's no shaykhs to carpentry. It's not from Teman. Don't worry about it. There's no shaykhs to carpentry at all. And it's an insult to the profession.
Talking about there are modern shops that do it.
The modern shops that they don't. It's done by laser, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm not, but to the person who is a professional, it's utterly disgusting. Right? It's utterly disgusting. And the person says, "What's the difference?"
The product is the same at the end of the day.
Not only that, the product is never the same at the end of the day. The product may be more uniform at the end of the day, but it's never the same. It's never the same. But you have to have a affinity for the product to appreciate the value of the handcrafted item, right? And I'm not right now discussing when is it worthwhile, when is it not. But to the person who's a professional, it's an affrontment to the profession because it doesn't replace. You want to know, is there an easy, whichever one is easier to acquire, if it's easier to become a Talmid of Shel Bilam HaRasha, that's guaranteed that it's not such a good investment. It just can't be. Because all things that are quality items, they demand hard work. And I'll just say that even today, it's like, I'll just use the example of wood. You go to a lumber yard, the person that understands wood, he can tell you, don't buy this piece, buy that piece, and they look exactly the same. From my point of view, that camera is the same as the camera I had when I was a kid. I can't take a picture with that one, I can't take a picture with the other one. They don't work exactly the same. There's no difference. There's no difference. But Ba'etzem, there's a very important difference. And this difference is, at the end of the bottom line, is it about self? That's what Chazal tell us. If you want to follow the difference between Avrohom and Bilam, whatever is about self brings to decadence. Whatever is about others brings to godliness. And it's harder. It's way harder. It's way harder. And the proof is in the product. The proof is not in the making of it. The proof is in the product. That's the idea I thought to share with you.
How can we apply this, Rav, to understanding that very small group of people in Hasidic dress that go to Iran, and they're convinced that what they're doing is, in the best interest of the Jewish people. Are they acting from selfish motivations, or how does one understand psychologically?
I don't accept the question on two levels. I didn't say the question is not a good question. I don't accept the question. First of all, you should be aware that no matter what kind of dress a person wears, you could do Ahavas. First of all. By and large, you do not find leaders of such groups that say that that's what you're supposed to do. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Okay? So now, I want to ask you a question. I'm a rabbi of a shul. And I bump into this all the time. Someone comes to me and he says, Rabbi Zachariash, I saw Reuven speaking to Shimon during Chazaras Hashatz. Why don't you go and tell him that you're not allowed to do so? Do you think I should do so?
Accepting Lashon Hara. No, that's good.
That's I could be choishish. That's all. I'm not worried about the Lashon Hara part.
Maybe make a point in the sheet.
I didn't ask you for eitzes. I didn't ask you eitzes. Well, I need eitzes, but this is
Not come from directly.
So the answer to the question is that you have to take the whole picture into account, and is this going to be profitable in the long run? Right?
Right.
So then if someone's going to say, I was once in Rabbi Zachariyash's shul, and I know that he saw Reuven talking to Shimon during Chazaras Hashatz, and he wasn't moicha. I have proof Rabbi Zachariash holds that you're allowed to talk to Chazaras Hashatz. So what do you say to that guy?
He's got the wrong end of the stick. He's just not. He's came to the wrong conclusions.
So now there are many times that there are things that happen that if you're moicha, all you do is you add fuel to the fire. You cannot always be moicha. Sometimes it will work against you. You have two children and they're fighting. So many times the wise parent will say, let them fight it out and it'll be over with. Because if you get involved, it's not going to end. So have a raya that the parent is nicha that they're having a fight, right? So many times there are things that happen that people are in charge make a cheshbon that it's not timely or worthwhile to say something about it. And I would just mention, I know what I was taught, and I know what my Rabbi think, and I know what other people think otherwise, but I don't feel that the gedolim of those communities advocate such actions. Now, there could be circumstances which perhaps it could be more sanctioned than others, but those are exceptions, far and few in between. Okay, now I'll just let's speak about the following incident. I'm making up an incident. This didn't happen. This is my vivid imagination. Okay, there's a Chassidish tish going on of the most radical of Chassidim, and Chilonim come in smoking cigarettes with their boombox, and they get beaten. What would you say? What would you say? You don't have to say. How's that? Am I a nice guy?
If the roles were reversed, I think they certainly would get beat.
What?
If the roles were reversed.
Yeah, but we don't decide what's right or wrong by what other people would do. Right? Now, let's say we understand that. I spent another $100,000 to buy a smaller house, to live in a place that my children don't have to see things which are inappropriate. and I put a big sign in front of my neighborhood, and we're all like-minded people that live there. We don't want people with inappropriate dress coming there. And the people come there. How far have we moved from the first case to the second case? I didn't say that the first case that people are right either. But look at it from a different vantage point and you don't see necessarily the same thing. I didn't say there's an excuse. And I didn't say that the people should be beaten up when they come into the Tisha. They do that also, right? Now the difference is that the first people, they're provoking. They're cognizantly provoking. The second people say, we're just walking down the streets. Say, you can't read. Now what would happen, again, I am not sticking up for anybody over here. I just would like to have you see the complexity of the situation. We will have a place where there are sick people that need sleep and need quiet, and there's such a person who's driving through with their convertible and the radio on the loudest, and someone shoots his tire out. Would we understand that? What's the difference? Shimon, I'm speaking to you.
I know, I'm trying to... My mind doesn't work so fast.
Okay, no, I didn't say that you should shoot the guys out. I'm not advocating anything. But what's happening is that we see things from a very narrow perspective. It wouldn't bother me, so why should it bother him? So if he's acting like that, he's being irrational.
I see.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on. Now, just because the person punched you in the nose doesn't mean you should punch him back. It doesn't mean you should punch him back. It doesn't mean you're right for punching him back. But it's not the same as if he didn't punch you in the nose. Let's get this straight. Okay, I'm now going to answer your question directly. Do the people from Bet go to Kikar Dizengoff and put garbage cans on fire?
No.
So it's when the people from Dizengoff they go to Bet. So is that fair? Is your question fair? I'm not picking on you, just you're the one who asked it. Right?
I'm just trying to...
So the answer to the question is, and I'm going to explain to you. The answer says, Rabbi Zachariash, everything you said is 100% correct. But you expect from people to act better. That's really what you're saying. But you can't say that, because if you say that, you discounted your argument. I'm not picking on you.
No, I think I was trying to apply one of the basic lessons of the Shia. The person's supposed to know certain things based on your own conscience. And I'm saying if a person's looking in their own conscience, you can come to different conclusions.
Can I ask you a question? Rabbi Zachariash is sitting over here, and Mr. Lubliner comes to me, and he says that I hear Arabic coming from the wall outside my apartment, and it seems that there are Arabs that are trying to break in. The Gemara says that you're allowed to kill him. Should I kill him, or should I leave my house and let them steal? What? Is your name Lubliner? Why are you saying that? One second. You would say that if they were walking down the street too, possibly, right? What? Possibly. No, it's your answer is tainted. No. But right now, the halacha says that Habola Hargacha Hashkim Hargoi. If you could run away, are you mechuyev to run away?
It says if you're a gevul, you have to kill. You can't have people coming there to kill.
We're not talking about gvul. Ramat Beit Shemesh is not the border.
It's even more.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's not a security issue.
More of a security issue.
It's not.
It's already internal.
No, they're coming to steal money.
Okay.
They're coming. We know what they're coming for. They're not coming to conquer. They're not settlers that are taking over.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. They want money. No. There could be they have that idea also, but that's not what they're coming. They want to steal right now. That's what they're coming for. Okay. Let's say Let's say we're in Pennsylvania, and this happens. Okay. No, this is not the question I'm asking. Has nothing to do
For
with
sure you should come.
what. Why?
I'm from Pennsylvania. No, I'm from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Why for sure you should shoot them?
They break it into your house.
What are you
I
saying?
mean, it's not Texas, you don't have to
You're
turn
not-
the body.
Excuse me. So, they're human. Where's your compassion? Just knock off a human? I'm serious. I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
What?
So when you look at the circumstance and you look at you take the bigger picture, but you're looking at things in context.
So I'm telling you right now, this is a chiddush in the Torah that you're allowed to protect yourself and you're not mechuyev to run. What about a person who says, you know what, human life is more important than my Rolex watch? I'll leave.
They can do that.
What would you say that he would get schar for that?
Was he putting his life in danger by doing so?
No.
No?
He's pretending he's sleeping.
I would say yes.
What?
I would say yes.
And yet you would say that if he gets up and he kills the guy, he's 100% okay.
Yes.
You might get an favor for them. Steve.
Which Avera?
You have to stop the person from coming in. You can't let somebody.
Why?
Somebody tries to come into there, it's not coming into there. You have to stop them.
Why do you have to stop him?
Because if not, they continue. And it grows.
I don't know. That depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. Yeah, no. I don't know where I don't know when you're mechuyev to assume the Ben Sarah syndrome is happening and when not. Right? I'm leaving it. I'm leaving right now the question. But if you were mitalmid of Shel Avrohom Avinu, you probably would let the guy steal your Rolex watch. Probably. You want to know if that's what the Torah demands of you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there's a place for that too. And yes, if it's going to foster all kinds of things, but I'm right now telling you what to do. No one's asking me this question presently. I'm not, but there's such a place. And that's beyond now. Sometimes when the person is doing something, if you're not going to do this, it's going to get worse. So you have to overreact. Oh, it's all true. But I'm right now discussing the basic midah, how one is supposed to approach something. A person, and I'm going to end with this, I have no suffix. If Avrohom Avinu would have been an aid at Reuven killing Shimon, and Yad HaEidim Tiyo B'Barishayna, he would have to kill the perpetrator, he would have cried while he did it. Even though it's a mitzvah. We are Torah v'kibbach. But that's a wasted neshama, if you want to use that term. I'm not right now discussing if it's really wasted or not. But the midah should never change. Sometimes the application one has to be careful of. All right.